You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei.
Hello and welcome to the Techie Leadership Show. Today with me I have Tiffany Smiley. She is the president and co-founder of Hope Unseen LLC, which is a public speaking forum founded by her and her husband. In addition, Tiffany runs operations for TiffanySmiley.com, which involves conference planning, media distributions, and publications. Tiffany uses her platform to empower women to overcome whatever circumstances they are facing and to uncover true joy and purpose in their lives. Through her website and conferences, she helps women share their journeys with confidence to impact and change their communities. Additionally, Tiffany works tirelessly in her community, in her state, and on a national level as a fierce advocate for veterans, caregivers, and their families. Hi, Tiffany, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I love talking about leadership and stories because I believe it is our stories that change the world. So thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure to have you. And do you want to add anything else about yourself?
I guess a fun thing I could add is that a lot of people often don't know is I'm a farm girl and I grew up on a really, really small farm.
Okay.
In rural Washington, and
Washington.
Washington State.
Well,
And
I didn't know you had farms there. I had the impression you have only politicians there.
There's another side of the state that there's down home, hardworking people, and that's where I grew up. And so we have about 10 pigs on our property now that I have my boys raised because I see the value and the importance of them learning how to care for animals. So I'm a part-time pig farmer.
Interesting. I love the tidbit. It's so cool. Yeah, and I hope the pigs are growing really fat and prospering.
They are. They are.
Pigs. I like pig fat, so bacon especially. Oh, so good.
Yes, the bacon is so good. I'll have to ship some over to you.
It will be greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Well, Tiffany, let's get to the stories because I'm really curious. So, do you want to start with the success story or with the leadership failure story? Which one would be your cup of tea?
I'll let you pick. I like surprises.
You like surprises? So let's reverse them. Let's start with the leadership failure. And then we move on to the positive note. So what would be the biggest leadership failure you had the unfortunate experience of witnessing?
I don't know that I have one big leadership failure that I witnessed. I often believe, I think, I know that we can learn the most from others' failures.
Yes.
And so I don't always see it as a negative thing. I see other, people's leadership failures or shortcomings as an example for me of what not to do. And I've had multiple experiences in my life, especially through the journey my husband and I have been on. And one I noticed right away, a leadership failure that I took note of, and it's never left me. It was, many probably don't know, but my husband was blinded in Iraq by a suicide car bomb. And so when I had resigned from my nursing job and was at the hospital caring for him, and a military officer came in and he was visibly distraught and really felt that this was a hopeless situation. He really didn't know how Scotty was going to go on or how we would live a fulfilled life. And he said, this is such a tragedy. This is hopeless. And he said, Scotty was a good leader. And I said, exactly. I said, he still will be. So in that moment, I realized there's some leaders that don't have great vision, or a situation is overwhelming for them and they need other people to help them see outside of that. And so I've remembered that. And I always remind myself to never take the current situation that you're in as all is lost, because it could often be the very moment that all is an opportunity or a space to move forward. So that's one leadership failure that I noticed, at a very young age. But I think the greatest leadership failure is how we treat each other, like how we acknowledge, how we care for others. And some of the best leaders do that very well.
Yes.
And so people will always fail us. Leaders will always fail us. We will make leadership mistakes ourselves. I've made mistakes growing my business. I was just talking about some last night, and I look back and I kind of laugh at some of the things I did. But it's all about growing. It's only a failure if you don't learn from it.
Oh, yes.
So if you can learn from it and grow and go on, it's a success. And so I truly believe that it is leadership failures, mistakes that are an opportunity and a choice for us to see them in a different light. And it can be the very thing that makes us better.
Yeah, and that is so true. The only failure, the true failure that you can have is failing to learn from whatever life throws at you. If it's good, if it's bad, doesn't matter. It's all a it's a lesson in the end.
Yep, absolutely.
And I like your insight that you had during the story. Like, if you're a leader, you continue being a leader despite adversity and what happens. And it's not something that you can be taken away from you. It's not a material thing. And that's important to realize.
Yes. And I've had a really unique experience in just watching how people are treated. Since my husband is blind, I've been in a situation where there were multiple leaders in a room. And we walked into the room, and this particular person knew my husband, and I knew that he saw us. So of course my husband can't see him, but I knew that he saw us, and he never came over and said hello.
Oh my God.
To my husband. And I just took it as a mental note, though. I took it as that is a leadership failure. Like on that part, but I didn't judge him for it. I made a mental note for myself that how you treat people matters. When you're a leader, your character matters.
Exactly.
Every minute. Every minute of the day, not just in certain situations, not just in certain settings, but it matters every day, every time, how you treat people. And yeah, go ahead.
And you need to treat people equally all the time. So it's not having standards and everything. And no, they're people, interact with them the same. They are going to love you more for it, especially if they're used to getting like preferential treatment, or people, you have hard situations like you're describing, and people they want to feel the same, they get the same level of treatment. At least if I was in a situation like that, I know I would want to get the same level of treatment. Like, I was normal, it's not something different.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a powerful message for me, because I'm not perfect either. Perhaps I've made someone feel that way at some point too, but now I'm conscious of it because I know how it feels. And so, a failure can be turned around to bring so much good and improved leadership.
That's true. And that's when I think like your leadership really shines, because sometimes you don't know how to approach a situation, how to approach a person, because you realize something is different, or it's not only in this case, even like if you have like a woman a woman manager, and she has to have a tough conversation with a man, or situation like this, you don't have to treat them like you would treat everybody. Make it equal, and it works. Then nobody's upset. But if you have like standards, and they can see that you're pulling more punches or you're punching harder, it's not good.
Yes.
Okay, Tiffany, and I'm really curious now about the success story.
Yes. You know, I leadership success to me is just it's exactly what we're talking about, a culmination of a bunch of failures that you learn and
Good.
grow from. And I would say the greatest leadership lesson that I've witnessed is that our pain and our failure isn't for us. So I think
Okay.
sometimes selfishly we think it's about us, and it's really not. When you can take your pain, your hardship, your adversity, and know that it's really not about you and what you're feeling, it's about a difference that you can make in someone else's life. That's leadership success to me. And yes, go ahead.
Do you have a story related to this that you've seen happen?
Yes, so my husband was doing the Coeur d'Alene Ironman. And so Ironman is swim, bike, run for hours and hours and hours.
Hard.
He had trained. So this is an example of sort of our whole life wrapped up into one story
Awesome.
here.
I'm all ears.
So Scotty had trained for a whole year. You know, I had helped him and it was a whole team effort to train for this Ironman. And this Ironman happened on one of the hottest days in history in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And it was 105 degrees. The ambient heat off of the pavement was 120. People were passing out. It was this horrible, horrible day of heat. Yes. And my husband was with his partner because he's blind, so he had someone guiding him, and they were doing great. They were surviving. They're getting through. Everything was on track. And there's very strict rules for Ironman. So if you don't make certain cutoffs and they pull you off the course, or if you go across the finish line just 1 minute behind, they say, you know, try next year. You know, you didn't become an Ironman, try next year.
Okay.
So as my husband has completed the swim and the bike, he's now on the run, and it's a marathon, and he's halfway through, and I see him. I see his face, and I kind of yelled something at him, and I saw that he wasn't reacting. At this point, he was walking very slow. He wasn't even running. And I knew their time that if he didn't pick up his pace, they would pull him off the course. And in my mind, I'm thinking, we just spent a whole year dedicated to this, and in an instant, it's going to be taken away from us. And I was thinking to myself, what will motivate him? What is it internally in us that will drive us to keep going despite the obstacles, right? Despite the pain, despite whatever's in front of us.
Yes.
And I could tell he was going down and he was crashing. And so I ran up next to him and I said, this is not about you. This is not about you. This is about everyone else that you are inspiring. This is about the people that called you when they saw the article in USA Today and said, you helped me get off the couch. You helped me. Your story helped me live another day. I said, this is not about you. Figure it out. Like, go. And not that it was my words, but I think it's a leadership success in the sense that, number one, we all need each other. Yes. That we're not meant to do it alone, and that our pain is really not for us to carry. Our pain is to make a difference in other people's lives. And so as Scotty pulled it together, he came through, so made it through the first half marathon, and the second leg of the marathon was an hour and a half faster than the first. And he came in and became Ironman, which is incredible.
Amazing.
But that's where I'm saying is witnessing that, you know, that's almost our whole life wrapped up into this one moment, right? But these leadership successes are happening all the time in all of our lives. and it's a choice of how you react to it. So that's one of my favorite stories. And it is often our hardships and often our failures or our struggles that propel us to greatness.
Yes.
And, every day as leaders, we have a choice to make. And so leadership success to me is that choice that you make every day to make an impact in people's lives, and really spending the time and reflecting on it. And there was a moment where in my life personally as a leader, you travel and you speak and you do all these things all over, and you don't often know the impact you're making. But I have a drawer full of letters from people
That's
who
so
write
amazing.
and say, your words changed my life. Keep doing what you're doing. What you gave me was such a gift. You poured everything. You poured your heart and soul into sharing with us, and I will be a better person. Those are successes to me.
Yes.
And it's humbling to know that your work, your life's work can change people's lives. So I keep that drawer very, very close to me. And when I need to reflect and remind myself, of why I do this work, or even in these challenging times, why I keep pressing on, I open that drawer, and it's a reminder that success is making an impact in other people's lives.
That is so true, Tiffany. And I must say to you that I'm glad I'm just releasing the audios, because I'm getting teary-eyed here. A little. Your story really touched me. So it's really great. And it's true. It's when everything is rosy and is great, it's easy to be a leader. But leaders, yes, you see if they're a leader or not when everything goes to hell. And yes, you have to fight for it, and then you have to realize you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your team and all the people that support you, and it's your job to make sure that they succeed. Yes. So I love the story. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Yes, my pleasure.
And based on all your experiences and everything you've gone through in your life, what is your leadership philosophy?
And this was a journey for me to get to this philosophy. There was a portion of my life where I was leading in a sense of I was serving and going and building and creating and all these things in my life, but I wasn't serving myself well. And so one of my personal greatest leadership lessons was when I hit a brick wall personally. I'd come from a space where I'd helped my husband literally come back to life after being injured in Iraq by a suicide car bomb. I'd resigned from my nursing job. I fought the government to keep him on active duty because I believed he should recover and have the opportunity to serve if he still wanted to. And so I fought that battle. My husband did become the first blind active duty officer to continue service to our country. And then we're in the military and we're moving every year. We're on the move. We had 3 beautiful, amazing boys. They're all born in different cities all over the country. My husband wrote his book, Hope Unseen, and I started our speaking business. And so from the outside, it looked like we were we had put our life, we were flourishing. We had put our life back together. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, I looked in the mirror and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I had become. I was so externally focused and going, building businesses, creating, taking care of my kids, driving Scotty to work. I was doing everything and I hit a brick wall and I literally crumbled. I remember just sitting in a rocking chair outside on the porch and looking out in the sky and wondering, am I ever going to be able to pull my life together. I can't even get out of this chair. And it was a journey from that point. So from that point, I began to do a lot of self-reflection. And I dug deep. I started to understand my resilient journey. I started to understand my unique gifts and talents, my unique superpower that I brought to the table every day.
Which is?
And I started, I'll tell you in a minute. I started to rebuild myself. But it was my greatest, it became my philosophy. So this is years in building. But my philosophy became, serve yourself well first, then go serve others. And my superpower is I am a trailblazer. I go out and I just go for it. I embody the mission. Nothing stands in my way. I build teams to accomplish the goal. But in doing that, you have to serve yourself well first. And I cannot stress how valuable that was to me, because I'm able to serve way beyond what I ever thought I would be able to do by the simple fact of knowing that I had internal work to do first before I could go externally and serve.
And that's a powerful realization. And many people, maybe because culture, our cultural backgrounds and everything, always take care of others. But you have to realize, if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of others? If you're sick, if you don't have enough time, if you're stressed, how can you offer a helping hand to other people? It's impossible. And I always go back to, even in when I'm saying, especially with family relationships, is go first. You're a role model for the rest of the family. And two, if you're healthy and you're fit and you're providing for the family, then you can be there. But if you're in, God forbid, you're in a hospital bed, there's no way to offer support for your family, and you become a burden, actually, if you don't take care of yourself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Tiffany,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, because you're working to empower women, and I wanted to see what would be your tips for women to overcome some of the obstacles that are common in the office setting, and to become better leaders themselves.
Yes, I love working with women. It is my passion and my heart, and I built my More Than Me business after building Hope Unseen. And what I realized as I was, I went from a nurse to an entrepreneur, just a really big jump, but I've learned so much along the journey. But something I was missing as a woman is it was a very isolating place to be. I didn't have many mentors when I needed help with a certain service, and I didn't know who to reach out to. And so I created this platform called More Than Me for women, where information is accessible. There's personal professional development. There's services available. And I love providing that. I love making it easier for other people. And so my top 3 tips, I would say, is number 1, know who you are. And I know that sounds like a simple question, but it's a really powerful question to spend a lot of time reflecting on. Really, when I looked in the mirror and said, who are you? I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know what I had become through all of this. And so it's important to know who you truly are. And within that, you'll discover your superpower. So number 1, you need to understand your unique gift and superpower that only you bring to the table, because we all have it and we all have something and we all need each other. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to reach out, to not only help, but be helped. And I think that's a hard thing for women sometimes, to ask for help, especially in leadership roles and executive business roles. We're always trying to prove that we're there. But something powerful happens when you're vulnerable and you realize that you not only help, but need to be helped. So I call it the help and be helped. Reach out for help and be helped, because that will propel you so much faster, and help you with growth and authenticity and connecting with your team and connecting with others. And then number 3, my favorite, is to advance fearlessly. So moving forward bravely for results. I'm an action person, and so you can have those top 2 things, but if you never take action on them, nothing's going to happen. You'll be in the same place 5 years from now or a year from now. And so I always take mental notes of where I'm at right now, and I say, okay, in 1 month I want to be better. In a year I want to be a totally different person, better. So those are my top 3 tips that I would share.
And I might say, like, reaching out and especially asking for help, it's something that most people struggle so much. I struggled with it a lot in my life. So and all the tips, they apply if you're a woman or a man. They work the same. And I feel like I don't know, I still feel like men are a little less inclined to ask for help.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. I have great men in my network too, that also pour into us women and share their expertise. But, men do need to ask for help too. And I've witnessed this in a really real way with my husband. So because he is blind, he has to ask for help, more than anyone, really. And, so it's been interesting because I always tell people he is a whole person. He is very sure of himself. He's very authentic. And one of those gifts, I think, is that he is not afraid to ask for help. It doesn't bother him. It doesn't pain him. He knows if I'm going to move forward, if I'm going to accomplish anything, I have to ask for help. It's just a really real thing for him. But I think the more that more of us understand the value of it, and the importance of it, that we will be more willing to do that.
Yeah, and I don't understand why, at least I have like this reaction, especially a time ago when I was going to ask for some help. It was like, I'm going to get killed if I ask for help. It's like something ingrained, but it doesn't make sense at all. And it's actually, it stops you from growing and developing. And when you ask for help, you actually treat people equally. Everybody, you treat them equally. So it's not, you treat them everybody if they're really close to you or they have more distance, like from. But if you ask for help, it brings them closer instantaneously, at least in my experience.
Yes, and even in your teens, like, I think it's important as leaders, to not be afraid to do that, because really it's everyone's ideas and creativity that can change the culture or change the future of your business. So reaching out and asking for help on something can be an incredible benefit. And it brings you down to a real level. And that's where people feel comfortable to share, right? That's where people, when they know they can help, it changes everything.
Yes, exactly. They get more involved. They say, like, I matter. It's my contribution matters.
Yes.
And that's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. And Tiffany, I'm really curious. What is the book that had the most profound impact on you?
I have to be honest. I have a ton of books that I read.
I had the suspicion that you have a ton of books.
So I don't have one particularly that is my one and only. I do have one book that I have been reading since 2005, and it's more of a devotional type book. And it's called Streams in the Desert. And that is a book that I have, or it's more of a daily devotional, daily tips kind of format. But I have read that throughout my whole life. I read it all the time. And then I would say most recently, the book that had greatest impact on me was Go Giver. Go Giver, the author is Bob Berg, and I was speaking at an event about a year ago now, and an executive from a bank was interviewing me, and we really connected. We had this great connection. She's this incredible woman. And a few weeks later, I was back home, and she sent me Go Giver in the mail. Awesome. And I just started reading it, and all of a sudden I felt like my life's work made sense, that it was worth it, that go givers, like, keep going, keep giving. It was such an encouragement to me, because, it is hard. The world is hard. You get bogged down. You question yourself. You wonder, is what I'm doing making a difference? Is anyone listening? But reading that book was just so enlightening, and it brought me so much joy, and I share it with everyone now. So if I mail it out to people, because I think we need that reminder that our life's work, our businesses, that it can be different. It can look different. We can serve and be successful, however you define success. So I would say Go Giver, but I also recently read Mad Genius by Randy Gage.
Yes. And what did you get from it?
Oh my goodness, I felt like he was speaking my language. So I have like tags and marks all over this book.
It's like you're getting a quiz. You're going to get quizzed at the end.
Yeah. But what I loved about Mad Genius was the creativity aspect of it, and the power of creativity. And so I'll share this with you, this part of it. It says, creativity requires courage to explore ideas and instincts, no matter how quirky they may be, to create a connection between two seemingly different elements, courage to put it out in the world.
I don't know what else to add to
it. So what I took away from Mad Genius was that you already have it in you to go create, to build, and you have to have the courage to put it out there in the world.
To do it, yeah. And this, for example, as a story from my life now, I always thought that I cannot draw. No talent at it, no skill. And during what I had was shot in house during the coronavirus, I said, I picked a book, a course. I forget the name of the course. I'm not good with names, but I think I'll find it and I'll put it in the show notes. And I actually learned to draw in 3 hours. And all the art I have, like for the show and everything, I made it myself. And I am really surprised by my capability to doodle.
I love it.
Yeah,
so
it took courage.
To learn something new. Yes. It does. Yeah. It does. And then to share it.
Exactly. I put it out in the world and people like it.
Yep.
I'm really happy with it. But like all artists, now I'm an artist. Like all artists, I'm not satisfied with the quality of the work. It can always be improved.
What a great skill.
and Tiffany, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Yes, you can go to morethanme.com, and that you'll see my picture on there, my bio about me. It talks about my membership community that I've built for women. My events are all on there. I do events all the time, which I love. I love producing events and bringing interesting people together to learn from, to grow from,
Amazing.
To connect with. So you can check me out there at morethanme.com. Also at TiffanySmiley.com is another place that you can connect with me. And of course on social media, I run all of my social media. I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you send me a message, I will write you back. I love hearing from people and connecting with people. So please do reach out.
Yeah, and I'm going to put links in the show notes to all the websites and for LinkedIn and other social media accounts that I find. And I highly encourage people to go and especially come to your events. Doesn't matter. Do you accept men also?
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah,
Sometimes we do
great.
have men. Yes.
Yeah.
And the events are all virtual, currently. But I created a online platform. And so right now all the events are virtual. So we just got our first international member. An amazing gal from England joined us. So we are super thrilled about that.
Great. And I hope more international people are going to join the platform so it brings more new ideas from around the world because it always helps in a community.
Yes.
Well,
Agreed.
Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thank you. I loved talking. I love these topics. So keep speaking, keep sharing. Thank you for having me on.
I will. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.